Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome back. We're kicking off Week 3 action here at the D2L Western Challenge with a hell of a good match. And we got to see Na'Vi in action over the weekend. This is probably one of the most anticipated matches to go along with that win over EG we saw over the weekend. They take on Alliance now in the latest iteration of El Clasico. In fact, it's going to be the second time these two teams see each other today, let alone looking back over the last year where some of the most memorable matches in recent Dota history have involved these two names. Let's take a look at the lineups and see how they stack up. On the side of Alliance, we can see, well, it's a star-studded lineup, the same five that brought home the hardware from the International 2013. And looking to do so again now, really beginning to find the rhythm a little bit. They've been looking so much better of late compared to the months before. They're led by S4, of course, out of mid. They have Bulldog out in the off lane with Loda on carry, one of the most legendary carry players in all of Dota. Ake, of course, the phenomenal support / jungle signature hero of Chen, and I think that's fair to say. His Chen is something that has to be seen to be believed, and EGM, of course, out on the hard support. We can see they sit in 5th place right now in our overall rankings with 4 matches left in their Western Challenge group stage, so a win here going to put them in a pretty solid spot to just do better than break even, which is what that would move them to 2-2. Put them in a good place to charge down the stretch and look for their playoff spot. On the other side of the river, of course, Na'Vi. No more star-studded lineup in all of Dota, led by Puppy on the hard support, another player who has a Chen that you just really can't even describe with words. Whenever it comes to the 2 best Chen players on the planet, I really don't think there's a whole lot of debate that they're both going to be in this series here today. Of course, Hvost is always the playmaker and always puts on a show from the hard carry. The most popular player in Dota, at least arguably, is Dindy. Holds down mid and always see the Natus Vincerum draft kind of revolve around him and his play. Funix out in the off lane with Kuro on the hard support, and the Na'Vi actually took their first, improved their record, dealing EG their first loss over the weekend. Now they stand at 3-1 in overall 2nd position, and a win here would guarantee them a playoff spot and put them in great position to win their last 2 and finish in a top 1 or 2 seed, both of which will end up getting a bye when the playoffs start a few weeks from now. Well, for me, I'm your host there in AC Chambers. I'll be bringing you the commentary, and I'll be joined, as always, by Tralf Dota to break down the insight and analysis. These two teams, as mentioned, have already met once today. Alliance got the win there and looked very impressive in doing so. So Na'Vi going to be looking for a little bit of payback. The draft is already underway. We'll be bringing that right to you in just a moment. Stick with us. We'll be back here on the D2L Western Challenge. And as we can see, the draft just about halfway done now. Not quite, I guess. Haven't gotten to the second ban phase quite yet, but things already beginning to take shape as Na'Vi drafts out the puck, and that is certainly a signature hero for S4. Won't have access to it this time around, and S4 in the previous matchup of these two teams in Dream League actually ran a Venomancer. They'll also have the Earthshaker to go along with it. Alliance, in the meantime, grabbing the Invoker, so taking one of Dindy's favorite heroes away from them. Both teams really kind of sticking with what are emerging to be some of the most common picks and bans in the first phase. The Bad Rider, the Lycan out from Na'Vi, and of course, Ancient Apparition along with Ember Spirit banned by Alliance to help break down the draft and the whole game from the professional player's perspective. Welcome in once again, Tralf. And Tralf, man, we got to see Na'Vi in action over the weekend. They looked very good. They were pushing the limit by EG, but now neither you nor I actually had a chance to catch the Dream League match. We were talking about that before. I was commuting, getting ready to come into the office, and you had some stuff going on as well. But from what I understand, Alliance kind of just ran them over.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't get to watch it either. I heard the end result, and I'll just have to take your word for it, but it sounded like Loda played a pretty epic and high GPM-filled Morphling or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it. It would have been nice to see that to set up for this best of 3. Although those games are all they're just 1 games, right?
BO1s.
Okay, that kind of makes a bit of a difference, especially when you look at when we cast Na'Vi versus EG, all 3 of those games were stomps. So I think best of 3 is a little bit more fair in that sense, where you can, not get quote-unquote cheesed by something. Now, I'm not saying that Alliance cheesed by any means, but obviously best of 3 seems to be the most fair, most fun to watch, I think, for me personally anyway. But for the draft coming up here underway, S4, he drafts up an early Invoker for himself, and I love seeing S4 on Invoker, by the way. I think it suits him really well. When you think of S4, you think of big playmaker heroes, and I've seen him go both Quaswex and Exort styles in recent games for Alliance. So he just kind of changes it up based on what he's playing up against, and it's very fun to watch him play that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I do want to go ahead and point out those who are watching on the stream. We actually had our production crew led by Conrad working to figure out what exactly the origin of the red flashes are, and we can already begin to see it now in the pick ban phase. And of course, it's not as annoying now, but it would be very maddening in game. And certainly everyone's been upset about that. No one more so than us, because we want to deliver these games in the highest quality we possibly can. So what we're going to end up doing is after the draft, we're going to ask the teams to pause for about 1 minute, 2 minutes, give or take. And we're going to switch to just an onboard rig. And I'll just end up running it from basically running the whole production out of my own stuff. So you won't be seeing me on camera again. I got to say hello to everyone at least once, but just letting everyone know, if you're seeing the red flashes and you're already worried that it's going to be as annoying as it has been for the last couple of days, will not be the case. We'll be fixing that before game one gets fully underway. So I want to thank everyone for their patience and understanding regarding that. But yeah, second ban phase is continuing. Nyx and the clock going to be taken out by Na'Vi, so taking away some of the offlaners, while Alliance is getting rid of the TA, and for good reason. Dindy on the TA, very, very disgusting. And, of course, the Mirana, who is – Mirana's just one of those heroes that fits into every lineup and gives you something regardless of what you're looking for. And I expect the closer we get to TI and teams kind of start to contract in terms of how they draft, and you always see this leading up to internationals. There's a select group of heroes that it seems like teams just settle on that they're going to run unless you have a specialty kind of a play. I don't think it'll be as bad this year just because of the current state of the patch, but I definitely think Mirana is going to end up being one of the most picked and banned heroes across the board just for that fact. The fact that you can draft her fairly early if you want and know that she's going to fit into whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, she's good in that sense too. Yeah, if you draft her early, it still leaves you wide open to go aggressive, to throw her mid, to throw her in the one position. So it doesn't really give away your draft. So I agree with you on that point. Chen here picked up for Na'Vi. You know, you talked a little bit about how Akis Chen is just legendary and he plays it quite nicely. And I think Puppey is right there up with him. I mean, he played Chen in game 3 of Na'Vi versus EG and absolutely decimated, in my opinion, was the MVP that game. So hopefully more of the same here for Puppey in that sense. And as far as their first two picks, Puck and Earthshaker, I love this. I think that these two heroes work quite nicely together, especially if you can get early blink on Earthshaker. Well, early blink on Puck as well. Their spells synergize quite nicely together with long range stuns and the long range orb for lots of nukes and lots of stuns. So I like those heroes together.
Oh, without a doubt. And Kuro plays a very good Earthshaker. Almost always going to end up being him that handles the hero unless they kind of throw a curveball with their lineup. But like you said, he's one of those heroes, especially in conjunction with a Chen. You can get them moving around fairly early, and especially in terms of what the pressure you can put on mid. If you're able to catch a mid player that's a little overextended, a Chen gets into a good position with a creep to lead off stun, be it a net, be it a stomp, and then followed up with a fissure to block any path of escape. It's a sure thing. So Na'Vi this time, though, going to grab the Venomancer, which, again, according to what I looked at of the draft, in the post game was handled. God, I hate that when players pay over. It drives me nuts. Yes, thank you guys. But yeah, the Venomancer run mid by Alliance last time around will be picked up by Na'Vi in 4th position. I'm going to kill whoever that is. That is driving me insane.
I'm just gonna mute in game right now. This is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's not. Yeah, it looks like did he just do shave and a haircut? I think he did shave and a haircut. 2 bits, but Io picked up by Alliance. Now, Io fitting into this lineup is really interesting. You're going to have global presence from Invoker. Centaur Warrunner would seem to be the natural hero they're going to try to put with the Io, and that actually gives you an excellent way to gank. If you're able to just land to stomp, and you can even hold on to your Stampede to try and charge down a target who might otherwise get away. But we'll see if they're going to end up putting someone else, and you're obviously going to be looking for a carry with this last pick, and I'm anxious to see what they end up wanting to run.
Yeah, I was wondering actually after the first 2 picks when Centaur was going to get picked up here for each team. It wasn't banned out at all, and I was like, ooh, this is like a premier pick here for both teams because for Dazzle anyway and Invoker, honestly, it works in any lineup. It's such a good hero, and I constantly see that whenever that level 6 is hit by Centaur, not even just the blink, but just level 6,
right?
It opens up for so many kill opportunities. So if you have any kind of setup initiation, like Invoker is great. If you decide to go Quaswex, the Tornado is very good. Sniper, yeah, picked up for Na'Vi. If you go Exort, you still have the initiation with the Cold Snap, and that's all you need to set something up with a Stampede. So,
right.
Sniper though picked up for Na'Vi. We've seen this played by Dendy quite a lot to great effect. As far as their supports go, they have Venomancer, Chen, and Earthshaker, so it's probably going to be a one-position Venomancer is my guess, and then maybe now with a sniper pick, perhaps an offlane Puck, although they could do some kind of aggressive thing here, so very interesting draft here from Na'Vi.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Like Sniper, when you see Na'Vi run Sniper, it's almost they're just going to go straight up tiny, which I love in and of itself, especially in conjunction with a Centaur. That's a lot of AOE team fighting damage they're going to have, and especially when you're talking about the tiny base Centaur into fights, being able to toss a Centaur on top of a target, guarantee the land of the stomp, and if you catch more than one target, you're going to be guaranteed some AOE damage from the double edge as well. But Dindy will be handling the Sniper, and it will be Havost farming the one position Veno, so that's going to be quite a lot of fun to see, and it could end up just being Kuro going into an off lane here. That wouldn't be, well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have Chen in the jungle, Venomancer farming. Yeah, never mind. I don't know. Like, I'm like you, though. It seems like they're going to have to end up doing something a little wonky to make the lanes really work out the way you would think. But the way Dindy builds Sniper in particular is a lot of fun to watch. He actually gets out a very early Blink Dagger.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it makes him very elusive, and with a range buff to whatever that spell is called, take aim or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what it's called, but they buff the range, so it makes him just very, very difficult to initiate on. But Alliance has some decent tools for that, so.
And now, finally, game one ready to go, and hopefully this will be a little bit better than what the other option would have been, which is red flashes, seizures everywhere, and just an unfortunate day for everyone. But as we get loaded in, it looks like their Na'Vi's going to actually end up running all 5 down into the aggressive jungle position, so maybe a little bit of potential for action early on.
Yep, maybe they just want to ward some stuff and catch someone off if they can. It's just going to be Puppy Ward in the bottom rune, and this would be very interesting if they did go aggressive here. It's kind of scary, but then again, Wisp, Tiny, and Dazzle, like it's scary when they get their levels and their farm, but honestly, right at the get-go, it's not as strong as you think it is.
No.
And when you have some good level 1 players here, being Earthshaker and Venomancer, they could capitalize on this.
Oh, Loda. Oh, there's the Fissure to follow it up as well. Puppy's right there. Hasn't put a skill point. Doesn't even need to. He will get off the Avalanche, but the Fissure time, way too long, and a very early first blood as Na'Vi gets this series off to the right start. And Alliance going to, I'm sure, receiving the message. Not going to be quite as easy a game this time as it was last time around.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but nicely played by Na'Vi. And it might be, I was going to mention this too, with their lanes. They could still just have Earthshaker just doing some ancient pulls and stuff. So if that is the case, and maybe Alliance, they need to spend a ward here to block these ancients. Because it looks like Kroki's actually camping down here, and maybe that's perhaps what he wants to do. And that could be devastating for Alliance, honestly. Just getting, Loda would lose out on a lot of farm if that's the case. Checking the wards, EGM has literally nothing in his inventory except for 2 sentries. He's saving up gold, so he's just waiting on something to buy. Invis rune here picked up by Dazzle, so if anything, he can at least block the Ancients. Yeah, by body blocking it, so that'll be good for him.
Yep.
Kroki, he won't be able to do that for at least another 30 seconds, and possibly longer if they have a heads-up play and decide to ward it.
We can see Ake just hanging out, checking him out. We're going to have a wraparound on Funnick. Funnick should be able to get away and will if they do decide to engage for an owl, just trading a little bit of damage. And, yep, nobody's home, Kuro. Sorry, that's going to be disappointing. Notices, yep, nobody's there. So the creeps will meander their way back into lane soon enough. For now, though, Funnick continuing to stay fairly far forward. And, there is a fairly high base damage on Puck starting out early on. So he's going to be able to last hit very effectively. And I like the fact that he's getting all this solo XP. And they're going to actually rotate Kuro immediately up to top, just recognizing this isn't a lane where he's going to be of much use. And they're probably suspecting that it might end up being warded. So that's not the case. But regardless, just wanting to make sure they keep their efficiency, their gold, and their level gain spread out very well.
Yeah, Sniper is going to have a nice time here in mid, at least for the time being, because of some help from Puppy. And it looks like it is going to be a Quas Wex Invoker for S4. Normally, you'd always get Exort level 1 if that's the route that you want to go for the extra damage.
Right.
Although maybe there is a reason to get the Quas just for the extra regen and cold snap, but it's probably going to be Quas Wex. And that being said, his CS is actually quite good, considering he had an Ursa there annoying him from Puppy.
Dazzle ends up dropping under his own tier 1, and it was hard to tell. Like, whenever you saw it on the minimap, it looked like they might end up diving. Got there, and he's already lacking a lot of health. So Loda and Ake able to tally a kill and get Alliance onto the board. A little bit of payback in that bottom lane.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because this is a lane that doesn't have the highest kill potential. Puck is, has both the illusionary orb and the phase shift, and these are heroes that EGM might be in some trouble. One more auto tech.
Yep, down he goes. So Funnick able to immediately get back up and find one for himself. That's actually a fairly big kill for him. It was solo, and manages to make up any ground he might have lost. So Funnick already to level 3.5 in an off lane that was abandoned by his support not long ago. And already up at top, we can see Bulldog is in great shape, too. He's sitting at about level 3.5, but he's going to have more of a problem getting into the fray of things now with the Earthshaker in lane. Puppey has found himself a Dark Troll Summoner. We'll see if he wants to try to make something happen with it.
Yeah, the one silver lining there is that EGM already bought his bottle. So that's what he was saving for with the early gold. Kuroki doing some do-si-doing here with Admiral Bulldog, and Havos is going for a complete, if I catch you in a gale, you're dead build. At least for Centaur early on. The only problem with this is if they don't net any kills, once Centaur hits 6, this is kind of not the best build to have. It has no pushing potential, and it won't cancel blinks early on with being able to have those Plague Wards up and running. So, interesting build from the safe lane free-farming Venomancer.
You see Loda and EGM trying to put a little pressure on the Funnick. They missed with the Avalanche. Not sure what they could have done off of it. The damage would have been fairly good, but as you said, that bottle already up on EGM does allow them to spam quite a bit more freely and allows them to just play very aggressive. Makes the lane much more difficult even for a relatively escapable hero like a Puck. At the early CS, we can see it's roughly even. 17 and 17. 17 and 10, 17 and 9 for the relative hard carries. 15 CS in mid for Dindy, so he's doing quite well. 12 for the Quaswex build on S4 is really quite good for him. And then after that, kind of the grab bag of the offlaners and everything. It's interesting to note the offlaners are right on top of each other. Identical CS right now, too. And very close in terms of XP. So the graph, despite seeming like it should be very even, you take a look, there's actually a bit of a lead that's already being generated by Na'Vi.
Yeah, this game, it looks like Dendy doesn't want to go for the Shrapnel build. I still think Shrapnel is very, very good, but it does feel like this is a little bit better situation to go for a take aim, and I think the reason for it, and he's maxing take aim, by the way. He might not max it, but he's putting 3 points into right now. Early TP from Ake, they might want to try something here with Invoker if he can land his spells. But this is the beauty of what Dendy has done, is he's keeping himself at such a freaking far distance that it's very difficult for S4 to get that tornado off. He can still do it, but it's going to be much more difficult now with this huge space between the two of those heroes.
Yep, Ake's still hanging around, and it is up at the ridge line, so Dindy has no ideas there. He's going to have to pull the trigger soon, though. Yep, every time he runs forward, Dindy just backs up and creates a little more space for him to try and juke left or right if the tornado does come out. Up at top, Bulldog almost level 5, and that might end, well, I mean, he's almost level 5, so it's going to be quite a while. Just heard an assassinate go off. And here comes Puppey. Dark Troll Summoner is going to be able to get the net up on the high ground. There's the Test of Fate and the Gray from Ake. Even though they were unable to put pressure on the Dindy, maybe that's why he was there. Not so much to gank, but just anticipating that Puppey was going to be coming out sometime in the first night. Kuro taking some damage from Bulldog in the river, but able to retreat safely. But I honestly think that might have been the purpose, because I mean, really, what's a Dazzle could try to do some damage, but he's not a big get a kill kind of a hero, especially when he's this low level, just sitting at level 3.5. And yeah, I think that was just mainly anticipating Puppey and making sure that S4 stays alive.
Yeah, it could have been both, honestly, because that tornado plus Cold Snap does a lot of damage, and the sniper doesn't have very much HP. So he's keeping distance between them, but if you can catch him, it's actually quite an easy kill. I will say Puppey's probably pretty pissed off. Wow, that was a lot of P's right there. But he's probably pretty angry because that was like minimum damage of Test of Fate. That did like nothing.
Oh, EGM in trouble again. Funnick, one more auto attack. That's going to be the second solo death. He's given up to Funnick's Puck, and now he's to level 5.5 as well. And sitting in pretty good shape. Dazzle's going to find himself a haste rune. He's going to move up to top. They are trying to push here. And Kuro's going to be able to spot him from the ridgeline. Here we go. They're going to come out. There's a tornado to lead. Stomp right afterwards. Savos got off the gale onto S4. Kuro, no, couldn't even get it off. Cold Snap from S4. Beautiful targeting choice there. And Kuro unable to get off his fissure. Ake still pursuing him underneath the tier 1. Here comes EGM to hook up. Poison touch as he tries to make for the woods. The spirits are doing good damage, and one Shadow Wave makes it a double kill for Ake that time. Puppey's going to try to rotate over. He's coming into a bit of a problematic situation. And yeah, he's going to continue to take a lot of damage, and down he goes to the tornado. He just kind of gave that one away. Havost wasn't able to teleport in time. And you understand the desire to come help, but he was running into a situation where he'd just seen 2 heroes die and knew 3 from Alliance were still hanging around.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me, but I don't know if your mic is cutting out as well, but it's kind of cutting out for me on my end, and I can't hear.
Hopefully that a little bit better?
A little bit. Let's see.
Not sure. Hopefully. I've got Conrad here. If there is an issue, he'll resolve it. But I'm showing up coming in clear through the... hang on. Havost.
Havost is in trouble.
Yep, stomped out. And Funnick's going to get a kill elsewhere in the meantime. But Havost, who is playing the 1 position on that Venomancer, goes down fairly easily.
Yeah, nice kill there. I missed the one bottom because they were initiating onto Havost up top, but Centaur's got a ton of levels, man. Like, he's almost level 8. He's 7.5 right now. And he's actually got 1,300 gold as well, 1337 as he just passes it right there. So this initiation is going to get really difficult for Na'Vi when that blink comes out from the Bulldog. You're going to have level 6 on IO. Actually, IO's not having a good game as he dies again from Funnick.
And at bottom, Loda trying to pursue Funnick out. Don't think he's going to be able to catch him, though. He's going to try to run through the trees, maybe get an avalanche off. Funnick has Illusory Orb in 2 seconds and gets off the silence and phase shifts out. Very well played by Funnick, getting himself back to safety. 5-6. Na'Vi has the kill lead, and we can see Puppy's Creeps now showing up in mid. Dindy did opt to go Midas, by the way, so he is going to be a little slower than even normal on a sniper in developing, but his levels should be very nice. He'll be making use of all those extra levels. So I'm sure he'll start taking points in a Shrapnel very soon. But EGM gonna be spotted. Fissure out from Na'Vi. There's a Gale to follow it, and the tether, that was so far away. Shadow Wave was there, and he may have to grave him. It's gonna be, let's see, can they catch him? He's got it. Yep, we'll go ahead and grave him just to make sure he stays safe. Funnick is coming in. Heard him. Illusory Orb away. There's going to be a Fissure that ends up disjoining them. They may get another kill because of it. Puppy ends up having to take the long road around. Here comes Funnick. Illusory Orb, well aimed, and a mega kill for Funnick. A puck with this kind of a start is not something you want at all. S4 rotated down, but didn't make the mistake Puppy did at top. Decided, nope, still a little too many unfriendly faces. I'll back up.
Yeah, I mean, even though he died early on, they get the tower kill very early on for Na'Vi. Even though he died early on Puck, this is like actually a favorable lane for him. Like, it looks kind of scary on paper with Wisp and Tiny, but it's very actually difficult to lock him down in the sense that you can lock him down and kill him fully before he gets off any more spells.
Right.
And he's just having a field day with this Wisp, man. He's doing so much damage. Wisp, he was able to kill him a lot early on, and it's just getting more and more easy for him. Now with phase boots up onto Puck, a little interesting, but it's going to help his maneuverability and being able to catch up to people. So, and he's got almost max damage with Illusionary Orb and Waning Rift. And when he does, oh man, it's going to be so much damage.
Yep, Funnick has had a great early game. And that Blink Dagger, more than halfway complete now. That's a big deal in and of itself. And speaking of Blink Daggers, we'll see one come up on the Centaur right now. And Bulldog kind of doing his own thing for right now, prioritizing his own farm, knowing what a key item that's going to be. Speaking of key items, I love that Na'Vi decided to do this with Havost. I was actually having this conversation with Conrad, talking about Venomancer played in mid or played as 1. This is the way that I actually love to see, and it looks like they actually managed to track down EGM again. Dindy, though, cold snap near mid. There's going to be the stomp. Beautiful hand to God. Is it enough? No. The Fissure just a little off in terms of being able to stun out Bulldog. Jaunt down to the low ground. Funnick has very low mana, though, and we're going to see a tornado that catches everyone. EMP is going to be there, and load up. Right in the middle of things, the stomp actually disjointed by the silence from Funnick. Now he gets it off, and he's going to have to use it to retreat. S4 will end up dropping, and now Bulldog going to be a return kill if they can catch him with Puppy's Creeps. The right-click damage is, there's one last auto attack from Funnick to make that another kill to go in his pocket. And the rest of Alliance trying to collapse on the position, but an action-packed game, almost 20 kills in 11 minutes. And don't know that there's any reason to think it's going to slow up. Both teams have really gone fighting builds, and both are making use of them very early on. Dindy, in the meantime, up at top, has rotated up. Kuro's going to join him and just trying to find his farm. He's got his Shreds up now, but only 400 gold aside to go with his Midas and his Wraith Band. Early look at the graphs tells us Na'Vi's getting the better of these exchanges in both departments, especially in gold, as they've opened up the largest lead of the game now. Midas is actually going to be the choice for loaded too, but this is going to be coming out very slow in comparison to Dindy's.
Top tower is under attack.
And gonna hope that Tralf is still there. Are you still part of the broadcast? Thought I heard you mute up. Hold that thought. There's a stomp on the Dindy. Tornado going to catch 2. EMP is there as well. Dindy's going to end up dropping to it. Kuro does not have enough mana for a fissure. Has an Echo Slam, but it's not going to matter. The Cold Snap, delaying it enough to let Bulldog get past where it would have been shot. Puppy's going to come up and maybe try to send him home. And there's going to be a stop. Oh, the Coil actually does catch it, but the Stampede allows him to make sure the kill takes place. Ake's there, gets the Grave off, and now Ake with the Weave. Bulldog trying to get the damn Wildkin off of him, but ends up dropping nonetheless. Phase shift by Funnick. Couple of auto attacks, still not enough. Even with the Cold Snap, not enough damage. Here he comes back in. Tornado catches Puppy behind the fight. There's going to be another orb. One last auto attack gets the kill. S4 now could be in trouble. Loda there to bail him out. And just heard him toss him. Didn't even see where he tossed him to. But either way, Alliance able to make up quite a bit of ground there. Funnick takes a drop. They do end up losing Bulldog and EGM in the meantime, though. Still, the kill score very close, 13 to 11. And yeah, that actually cut the lead down by about 30 to 40% for Alliance. So very nice exchange on that side of things. And not sure if Trouf's having issues, if I'm having issues, or what the problem happens to be, but hopefully he's still there. You there, my friend?
Radiant's middle tower is
Take
under
that
attack.
as a no, and I'm sure he'll be in contact with one of our guys behind the scenes to figure out what the problem happens to be. But the last few engagements, I mean, again, both teams have kind of built this fighting build, and I really love the fact that S4 has gone Quas Wex, as we've talked about. You know, Quas Exhort's always nice, and it gives you a certain amount of things, gives you a much bigger global presence, allows you to dominate lane a bit. But last time we actually saw S4 running on a Quas Wex Invoker, he really had next to no farm, but was still a huge impact. And we're beginning to see that already. There's going to be an assassinate on the EGM that almost brings him down. So Dindy, putting it to use very early on, has picked up a Morbid Mask, so early Mask of Madness likely to fit into the build. Let's see if they want to initiate off this. EGM back up in the fight. Load up, showing his face a little bit. The rest of Na'Vi not about to back down. S4's up on the high ground, spotted by the creeps. And they're just going to try to hold serve. Thought he might throw a tornado and maybe try to relocate on top of that. But honestly, yeah, never mind. EGM's not even level 6. Would have thought he would have been by now. The range from Dindy, the shrapnel, and using Puppy's creeps to screen. Very effective in bringing down the early tier 1. Now, though, Alliance going to run perhaps a couple around the edge under cover of smoke. Dindy still hanging around mid. Okay. Leading the way. Bulldogs right there. They do have a Stampede if they want to pursue this out. Tier 1 is still standing for Na'Vi, so it would be a risky proposition. Puppy has gone back into the jungle in the meantime, but it looks like Na'Vi's willing to try and take a Roshan. Alliance has a ward down and should be spotting them. We're actually going to see them. Going, looked like they wanted to go. I'm not even sure why they popped it. It looks like Bulldog and Ake, yeah, managed to track down Puppy near the jungle. Thought maybe they were going to try and engage into the Roche pit, but not going to be the case. As with Puppy down, they're still trying to take this, and it's a little bit chancy. S4 still hanging around mid. Yeah, looks like Alliance has no idea this is going on. Or if I would imagine if they knew, especially with the chin down, they'd be trying to take advantage of it. And they're going to figure it out, but it's going to be way too late. Dindy manages to get the Aegis before they're able to realize it. And Kuro now hooks back up with him as well. S4 eating the assassinate, but Na'Vi poised and ready to charge again, and already back up to that point of a lead that they had before. And we're going to see a coil now on the EGM, or excuse me, Ake, as he's forced staff, but the fissure coming from the low ground allows Kuro to tally another kill. And momentum completely and utterly in favor of Na'Vi at the moment. They are going to go ahead and fall back and regroup a little bit. And taking a look at the item development of Loda in particular, he is getting close to his scepter. He's more than 2/3 of the way done with it now. And that's, of course, a very big item. Also changes the way you have to approach a Tiny whenever you play him, and Funnick being very, very cheeky there. Using his Blink Dagger and securing some more CS in the meantime. Bulldog is split pushing top. They do glyph it, and they will be able to force him back. But the catapult, well-timed with the last shot there. As Bulldog makes it to safety, and they do end up getting credit for the full tower kill. It's going to be a Scepter build coming out on Havost as well. He's already picked up his point booster, and this is exactly what I was talking about regarding building the one position or the mid Venomancer. Just seems to be the most effective way to go about it. Don't try to play him anywhere near like a real carry. And, you know, with Dindy running the sniper out of mid, we're beginning to see, I won't say a huge shift, but a little bit of a shift now from a lot of teams beginning to take a bit of an Arteezy-like approach. I mean, Dindy traditionally more of a ganker kind of a mid, as opposed to, say, an S4, who I would label as more of a control kind of a mid. But now, the farm going to be concentrated on him, while the Venomancer just basically got farm priority long enough to get up some good items to push with and to fight with early on. Down at bottom, we're going to see Loda and Bulldog go in to work on the tier 1. Na'Vi. Oh, very nice Fisher, and the follow-up assassinate. Stomp there from Puppey just to be safe. And that's a nice kill. Anytime you get an Invoker off the board, going to make it easy. Down at bottom, we're actually going to see them engaging on Havost. And Funnick came in with him. They're going to end up trading EGM in the process, though. And now Loda, slowed as he is, going to be pursued out. Funnick, with that haste rune, going to try to jaunt and find it. Doesn't have the coil up, but will be able to auto-attack some. Loda going to go ahead and use his Midas while he has the opportunity. He has his full scepter done and now jumped on, but the craggy exterior proc there, and the help from Ake. And the grave was there. Assassinate wouldn't have had enough damage to bring him down, but just in case, Ake ahead of the game by mere milliseconds. So Na'Vi, once again, continuing to take control of the game. And, the problem for Alliance now isn't that they're not getting their shots in. They certainly are. They've blacked Na'Vi's eye just as bad as Na'Vi's blacked theirs. The issue is they're just not doing it quite as often. And Na'Vi just coming out marginally ahead in a lot of these exchanges, but enough of them, and you have a pretty big lead. And that's kind of been the Na'Vi game plan. Just take good exchanges, take towers where you can, free up space for Dindy. And speaking of space, he has certainly put it to use. Yep, there's that Blink Dagger. Very fun item pickup for him just to make sure that he can never be tracked down, especially against the team like Alliance is drafted. With the IO Tiny, they can try to get right in his face with the Centaur, who not only himself but will allow everyone else to try to close ground. Relocate now from Loda and EGM. The Centaurs are there to stomp them, and now the coil, they're in trouble. What great reaction out of Na'Vi. S4 tossing the tornado to try and buy some time. Funnick now came into the middle of this and will be cleaned up with the double edge immediately. The Stampede follows as they try to just clear out. So what looked to be a very nice reaction of Na'Vi was actually turned around by S4 with another great tornado, and Bulldog being in the right place at the right time. A little bit over-aggressive, perhaps, out of Funnick, trying to pursue right into the heart of that entire lineup. But the jungles continue to be highly contested ground, especially the dire side jungle. S4 is completely, at least to this point, going with, again, that control approach to the Invoker. A complete night and day story compared to how you see many professional players run him now, which is almost always pure exhort. Bulldog, off of that last exchange, did find himself a Hood of Defiance, so his damage output should be excellent, at least in terms of what it'll do to him. It obviously won't be increasing his damage, but it will negate some that he would take back from Double Edge. But both teams are a little happy to farm for the moment. That's actually a little surprising. We saw so much action early on, and still a very bloated kill score, 32 and 20 minutes. You still would assume that with the build they have, I guess, yeah, just waiting for the items they want more than anything. Loda finished his scepter, as we could see, swinging the big tree. And it's going to be that scepter build on Havost. It should be done relatively soon. Needs about another 1,500 gold. Aegis is going to be reclaimed in 60 seconds, and Dindy will spot himself a DD. It looks like it's not going to be him that grabs it. It will be Funnick instead. So he doesn't jump into the jungle. They are grouping as 5. Now up at top, S4 has 1 point into Exhort. Certainly not enough to really split push. But the bottom, Tier 1, denied out by Na'Vi. And they look to smoke and try to catch someone lingering near the jungle. EGM might be the most likely target. The Centaurs are just south of him. He is going to go ahead and hook up with Loda, though. And they may be able to come in from a good flank, especially if they catch them down in the river. Looks like they're going to crest the high ground. Now they're going to double back. And here comes Funnick. Funnick got his shot. There's going to end up being a courier kill behind this, but there's the coil. Funnick able to catch Loda. They are going to hook back up. Dindy's right there. There's the relocate to get him to safety. They knew they were outflanked and had to retreat. A nice Fisher actually caught Ake, but the follow-up wasn't there. The Enchant Totem, a little bit too far away. Funnick's going to continue to pursue him out. He does have Grave, though, so he is going to be able to grave himself, but not before eating a lot of damage. He actually didn't jaunt, and he's going to have to go a little bit further. That double damage rune, enough to secure the kill. Now he's going to be able to blink away before Bulldog can get on top of him. In the meantime, though, Na'Vi has regrouped in mid, and they did manage to get a kill. Just took a little bit longer and probably not as high a priority target as they certainly would have liked. Would appear that Puppey's going to end up grabbing up Necro Book. Done now, Book 1. So continuing to stick with the push-oriented approach, and for good reason. Havost, pretty far forward here. He's got a lot of support behind him, so Alliance should know that this is going to be a bait. meching himself up, and the rest of them collapsing up at top. Funnick's going to end up spotting S4, who's by himself. We'll see if they want to engage. And the Tornado is actually just shot. Funnick's going to continue to pursue him out. Here in mid, though, mid tier 1, continuing to take a fair amount of damage, and Funnick and S4 aren't going to end up engaging, so S4 needs to get back. So does Loda, as a matter of fact. He's way out by himself. Looks like they're just going to sack this, but they are going to engage, and now EGM just being caught with so many mini-crits from Dindy, who popped his Mask of Madness following the fissure. And the tower ends up dropping for free, not contested at all. They are trying to split push top and bottom, but really, I just don't know. I mean, Loda certainly has the power, but he has to worry so much about Navi's reaction. There's going to be an assassinate that ends up catching Ake and doing a fair amount of damage. The rest of Na'Vi continuing to just hold their time. And Bulldog's right there with him. Hooked up with by EGM. Loda is back in the mix. And we'll see if they want to initiate out. Havos just finished his scepter, and he may look to put it to use now. And here we go. Missing with the fissure. EGM caught with another assassinate. Dindy is beginning to run a little bit low on mana. He will be going with a Maelstrom build, as he's picked up the Mjolnir, or the Mithril Hammer, and has the rest sitting back at the house. Pipe done, and Dindy wisely blinking away to keep himself safe. Very long siege, here we go. Havos caught with the Tornado, and just going to eat some damage, but very solid, patient play coming out of Alliance so far. They are going to go ahead and move EGM and Loda elsewhere, but Na'Vi is yet to vacate the premises, still sitting in the shadow of where the Tier 2 originally was. We just saw a Sin back, and that'll be Havost, who went all the way back and now teleporting back to his own Tier 1. This is just one of the advantages of keeping those early Tier 1s up. It's how quickly you can get back into a fight off of a buyback, or as the case may be, Chin sending you home and you coming back. And this is smart from Alliance, sending Loda and EGM out, knowing that their split push is going to force Na'Vi's hand. Because now they can come back into the fight at any point. So the best they can do is trade a Tier 3 for a Tier 2. And that's probably still a trade Na'Vi's going to want to take. See the weave, caught 3. And yep, the bottom tower just being blasted down. Now S4 came out, and he will be caught. There's the coil, immediately Ghost Walk. Stampede's going to be popped, and they are going to try to bring in the fight to the south. And S4 caught and hit with the grave from Alliance. Kuro caught him from the low ground with the fissure. But Na'Vi still has yet to crest it. They got to make up their mind real quick, as Alliance is pushing down their own Tier 3. They get it, but it's going to cost them at home at least a little bit. They did save the glyph, and Dindy, the very first one to get back into things, assassinate on the EGM, not enough to kill him. But the rest of Na'Vi has to pull back a little bit more manually. So they do end up coming out ahead. They took the Tier 2 for free. They did end up losing a Tier 2 and some damage on the Tier 3, but they did bring down Alliance's Tier 3 in the end. So Loda and EGM opting to rat it out instead of fight it out, and getting as much as they possibly could. We're at 25 minutes into this game now, and Loda beginning to feel quite a bit more built. Maelstrom done on Dindy as well, though. And Maelstrom plus Mask of Madness on a sniper is actually very deadly. S4's got eyes on Puppy in the meantime in the jungle. He's under cover of the Ghost Walk, and he misses with a Tornado. He actually just got Puppy's creeps. And don't know that he could have done a whole lot, because Na'Vi was certainly in position. Their Tier 1 again still standing. You have to consider that just blacked out territory. But Dindy is continuing to just farm away. He's got 1,600 gold again. Roche has respawned, and looks like that's going to be where they want to go. Alliance not really in position to challenge this, and they should have no knowledge of it, even though they might suspect it. Book picked up and completed by Puppy. He had it done a while ago, but it's up to Book 2 now. But in the meantime, Loda has found himself the Assault Cuirass, so he's beginning to be more and more of a threat. Funnick, in the meantime, is on his way to a Sheep, and we'll see how Alliance ends up reacting to that. A Sheep on Loda is going to be game-changing if they can ever get it off. And BKB on Tiny isn't the most common build. It's fairly rare, actually. Unless there's a very specific reason. But the ability for Funnick to get right in his face and a Sheep, it might be enough. Once again, they're going to push down Tier 3, and once again, Alliance is going to try to rat it out as they run 2 up the top. They're going to be doing this as 5. And they're going to realize soon enough, yeah, they should know. It's like, okay, they're not there, but even though they're not here, they have to anticipate it's going to come. Range Rax is going to end up dropping at the very least. We're going to see Bulldog stomped after the net. A little bit of damage done, but no follow-up. And the fissure just to do a bit more damage. And the coil goes off. He has to pop the pipe and stampede his way to safety. Dindy pecking away at this Rax. They're going to be able to get the Rax and probably still be able to get out. They're continuing to play very safely. They've already sent one home. That's going to be Kuro. We'll see if they want to engage off of this. S4's up front, unable to do much to save the racks. Now they're going to engage out. There's Kuro going to be tossed immediately and beat down. Got off the fissure first, though. Missed EGM. EGM still the target. He will end up dying to auto attacks. Now Funnick forced to phase shift and then jaunt away. Loda thought about pursuing him out. But Ops, nope, never mind. Just went to the high ground, baited him to come back up. There's the other phase shift. Here comes Dindy. Has Assassinate ready to go. Now this is where the mini crit and the mini stun comes into play. There's going to be a Hand of God as Funnick just trying to bait him out. He phase shifts out again and is trying to wait on the blink. It looks like they did get him, but behind that we see Puppey taking a lot of damage from S4. S4 unable to kill him. The Maelstrom shield from Dindy, making him a bit more of a threat. And Puppey now, oh, he couldn't. Oh, he finally got the tornado off. I was going to say, don't think he can get an auto attack off. He does secure the kill. Bulldog's right there behind him. Dindy doesn't have enough mana for an Assassinator. He would have had a return kill as well. So action breaking out all over the map as Alliance decides it's time to go ahead and head home. In the meantime, Avos has been stomped out. Here comes Loda to try and follow it up. Uses his mech after his ultimate, and they're slowed down. There's the toss of EGM. Trying to stay in front of him. The Avalanche does catch him from behind, but Havos feels so damn tanky. 1,400 HP. He may end up getting a kill on EGM, and he does, so he ends up trading 1 for 1 in a situation where he should have been dead to right. Just look at how low Loda and Bulldog are just pursuing him out and trying to attack him. That's the liability that Havos has played in this game and will continue to be for the foreseeable future. Dindy still continuing with his item progression, still has his Aegis, and we'll see if they want to put it to use once again. But I'm just going to check while we have a moment of downtime. Tralf, are you back by chance? Or, yep, looks like something may be going a little wonky on his side of things. We'll try to resolve that before game number 2. Taking a look at S4, looks like it'll be a Hex of his own. And yeah, he just finished it, actually. So his coming out even before Funnick's. Overall graphs, we can see Alliance, despite losing their racks, has technically made up ground in terms of gold and experience both. The experience is actually back to 0. The gold has leveled out at about 5,000, so they've cut it down roughly 5,000 or 50% from its peak around 10K. But still a long way to go. They did get that tier 3 at top, but having a set of naked racks in mid now is kind of a problem. We're going to start to see, though, if the inherent limitations of this lineup begin to show themselves. Blink and Sanj is up on Kuroki, so would imagine a Heaven's Halberd will be on the way. And between Scythe of Ice and Halberd, yeah, there's the BKB I was talking about. I mean, it's nothing super rare. You just don't see Tinies get it unless they absolutely have to. But knowing the item build that Navi's going with, and knowing the amount of stun that they do have at their disposal, if Puppey's on point with his stomps and with his nets and everything else, you combine all of that with the Waiting Rift, with the Coil, and especially with Kuro, if he's able to land a good fissure. They had to have it, so Loda making the right investment there, just delaying any other big items he might want to pick up. Dindy, in the meantime, though, is getting quite large. That Mjolnir, such a good pickup, the attack speed it gives him, and now he's beginning to get up raw damage. He's actually built a Demon Edge, and we'll see if that's going to be crit or MKB. Would imagine crit is the right choice. They're both going to be sent back home once again. We see Lotus actually under cover of smoke along with EGM. They're heading up to the top lane. And if they round this at the right time, they might catch Funnick. They actually didn't turn right. If they had, they would have caught him. They're going to see him anyway. And Funnick immediately blinks away and knows this is volatile territory. Puppey, in the meantime, is in the jungle as well. Here comes S4 trying to collapse out. And Funnick finally able to TP away. They were converging on it, and Na'Vi just trying to get into a defensive position. Kuro has an Invis rune, though, and has spotted Bulldog. And no, they actually managed to catch it. Funnick looked like he was going to be able to get away, but S4 must have caught him with the tornado. And now he's going to be able to jaunt down the woods to try and buy some time. But the rest of Na'Vi trying to decide if they're going to come in or not. Kuro's still there. Invis rune at about 25% time. And Bulldog over in the woods has to wait for his Blink Dagger to come off cooldown. Will make it back out. So they scared the hell out of Funnick, but they weren't able to bring him down. And Na'Vi opting wisely, I think, to not engage there. They have the advantage, and they're just always going to have to account for this middle lane now. And this is one of the problems you run into when you have a lineup like what Na'Vi has drafted, being able to even just use chin creeps. If nothing else, send one just to help push in another lane. Havost hooking up with his team now in the jungle. But when you have to always account for one lane pushing in, you can't move 4 or 5 out very reliably unless it's right down that one lane. It's going to be very late, but the mechanism is up on Ake at about 31.5 minutes in, so at least they're going to be able to equalize themselves there. Havost getting a Sanj of his own. We'll see if that's going to be an S and Y, or if he likewise will be building a Halberd. I think Halberd for sure is going to be the build on Kuro. We'll have to wait and see what Havos wants to grab. But for now, they're going to go ahead and start pushing top. Alliance, though, is already in position down at bottom. They know Load is there, and they can suspect that in his back pockets is a little IO. And yep, they're going to have to come home. And this is a big advantage that Alliance does have despite having all of their... Here we go. We're actually going to see Kuro coming in. And there's the BKB used by Loda. He's going to be able to chop them down. Dindy doing what damage he can. Beautiful stomp out of Bulldog. They're going to follow it up, and just look at Loda go to work. And here comes Funnick back out. They do manage to clean him up before he can jump. There's the toss on to Havost. Mech's going to be used, but EGM there to teleport him out. EGM going to end up sacrificing himself. Bulldog trying to get out, and the stomp just off by not even a second, by milliseconds from Na'Vi. That would have been a huge pick for them. EGM actually does manage to get away, even though he traded ostensibly himself for Loda by teleporting and relocating back to the base. Good movement from S4, moved right up to the ridge here and allowed EGM to hook up and get back to safety. So at the end of the engagement, all of the towers still standing that were for Na'Vi. But Alliance continuing to cut down on that gold lead. We can take a look at our overall net worth and see that Tiny is the top right now at 20K for the moment. 16 and 11 for Dindy. And Havos following that up. And this time around, though, S4 does have a bit more farm than we've seen him have. That Scythe of Ice, such a huge item for them to have to begin with. And he's keeping an eye on things under cover of the Ghost Walk. And, yep, they know it. They just pinged it out. So he has to get out very quickly, as S4 got a little too close. But Na'Vi is beginning to feel a little bit more defensive. And that favors Alliance very well. They have a great team in terms of mobility, in terms of being able to get around, not just in their local vicinity, but across the map in total. And, of course, being able to allow Loda to remain active anywhere he wants to be, so long as EGM's right there with him. And Na'Vi is in force here, just beside them. So they need to be a little bit careful. Here's going to be a relocate into mid as Havost uses the mech, but will end up dropping nonetheless. Gale didn't catch anyone. Here comes the rest of Na'Vi. 5 seconds until they relocate back to where they came from. That's actually going to be right up here. And we actually see Loda just pinged it to say, hey, we're going here. But now with S4 behind them, and Ake trailing shortly behind, they're ready to push again. It's going to be 40 seconds until Havost is back up. He does not have buyback. There's a Assassinate on the EGM, but even the Assassinate not beginning to hurt nearly as much. There's a Fissure to block things off, and that'll save their tower quite a bit of damage. Weave's going to be used. There is no tower here, so it is going to be just Rax, so saving the Rax quite a bit of damage with that Alacrity up. But nonetheless, going to work. Here come the Necro Creeps. BKB going to be used as Loda just wants to chop wood as best he can. And very large at the moment, taking some damage from distance, but still no major initiation. And down goes the Rax. Now they're going to pop the Stampede. However, there's a coil to catch two of them. Funnick comes back in. Pipe's going to be used behind the fight. Funnick trying to pursue them out. There's a stomp for Bulldog. Manages to catch him, tossing him out. Hand of God, not enough to make up for all that damage. They should be able to get him when he comes out, and they do. Puppy even has to retreat. Now, there was going to be a deafening blast that caught all three. There was a Hex on the Puppy in the meantime, but big Echo Slam helps turn things around from Kuro. However, EGM saved by the Shallow Grave, and they're trying to come back in on this fight. There was a toss of Dindy and getting some damage done. Kuro sacking himself, it would seem, as Loda is taking all of that damage from Havos behind him. Another toss of a creep, buyback on Dindy. So a lot of that gold, not wasted, but having to be spent to make sure that the damage is mitigated as much as it possibly can be. Gonna hear a Sunstrike. Didn't even see, yep, looks like it was aimed elsewhere, but Puppy ended up surviving. And again, the buyback from Dindy spins just to make sure they did have to back off. But for the first time in this entire game, Alliance has actually taken a gold lead. It's marginal, it's small, but it is about a pixel above the line. And we can actually see the experience has not only gone in their favor, it has gone heavily in their favor now, eclipsing the biggest lead Na'Vi had built to this point, and up near 5 digits now, 24-21. Alliance leads this game after losing that Rax, and it looks like, and this is what I was talking about so far, as Na'Vi's team beginning to show its limitations. You know, Chen, great hero. You can do so much with it, and you can dominate an early game with it. You can just break down an entire mid-game with the right items. But now, with this lineup and the way they built it, as built as Dindy's becoming, he is doing more damage now, and he is hitting very, very quickly. Load is just too big. And Chen now has less room to work with, and he's just becoming a part of the back of these fights. Here comes S4 looking for a target. And unable to do anything. A lot of creeps that end up dropping there. However, behind that, Havost and Dindy managed to bring down Roshan. EGM now turns around. There's going to be the stampede. Havost going to be caught and blown up by Bulldog and Loda. Funix up on the high ground, and now we're going to have a Waning Rift and a Coil. Caught too. There's the pipe already used, though, and the weave catching the majority of Alliance. And it looks like they want to pursue this out, just don't think they can. The fissure has to drop. They are bottlenecked at the moment. There's going to be a tornado. Didn't catch anyone. Bulldog finally able to blink up, but nobody home. And they're actually going to come in behind and go right for the tier 3. They forced the glyph out, and now Na'Vi's a little bit split up as the rest of Alliance is converging down mid lane. We see Funnick has to dodge out of this. Puppy's in trouble and brought down by the spirits. Funnick throughout the orb, but Dindy's going to end up dropping and losing the Aegis immediately. Bulldog's already there. Ice wall's down, and the stomp. Well timed. Dindy's gone again. This might be the end of this game. A game that Na'Vi seemed to control for the majority of it. Kuro comes back in with an Echo Slam, but still not enough damage on enough targets. He's going to get off another fissure, but just really buying time's all he can do. We're going to have Avos back up in 2 seconds. The rest, though, are down for a while. Dindy did spend his buyback, so that's not available to him. And it's going to be Na'Vi having to defend his 4. And they make the decision to go right forward. Havost off of the Stampede, off of the Blink. He gets off his ultimate and manages to use the mech as well as the cheese, but it's not going to matter as he's going to drop. Funnick ends up hexed, and down he goes. And Loda, too big, too soon, as Na'Vi, who again dominated the first 25 minutes of this match, they end up giving up the Game 1 win as Alliance battles back on the back of an unbelievably farmed Loda Tiny at 29k net worth. Nearly double, actually just about exactly double the net worth amassed by Dindy throughout that game. And what a phenomenal way to start this series. This is the best of 3, and these two teams did square off already in Dream League. Na'Vi dropped that game, and they dropped this one. And Dindy's sniper at 0-5, he just wasn't as big a factor as he needed to be. And, you know, there are some cute things you can do with it. I love the way it worked. That long siege in mid was so effective. But, you know, now seeing the product, it's easy to look back in hindsight and recognize the brilliance in what Alliance drafted. Because the issue is with this kind of a team, you have Sniper, you have 2 great initiators in Puck and Earthshaker. You have a Venomancer who has an early mech up for you. He's going to have his ultimate, which is going to make it very hard to team fight directly into them. And, of course, the power of a Chen early on in the game. And you just get sieged out. And Sniper's range is such, and there's so much counter-initiation potential in the Earthshaker and the Puck, that it's so hard to do anything about it, but just watch your towers get whittled down. But the way you beat that is with an IO pick. Because Loda could go out with EGM, and they could farm freely. They could split-push towers. We saw them do it. And then be able to come back into a fight. And that last relocate, coming in all the way to the tier 3 and just cutting off the escape path of Na'Vi. Brilliant play. And I'm just astounded at how long Na'Vi led this game, and Alliance was able to nonetheless keep it under control. 30-22, the final kill score. 38 minutes, 16 seconds, the official game time. And hopefully we'll be able to get Trout back on the line. I'm not sure what happened to him, but hopefully we'll be able to bring him back for insight and analysis in game number 2. You're watching the D2L Western Challenge. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. This is going to be our lone best of 3 of the day. So make sure you stick around. Stick around at least for Game 2. We could end up going to a Game 3, though, if Na'Vi could get things on track. We'll be right back with Game 2 of this series next.